Hey guys, welcome back to a new knife review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Zero Tolerance 22 or 0022. Neat little knife. First knife like this that ZT has ever made. It's the little guy designed by Tim Galian. It's pretty sweet. Couple things that may sway you one way or the other, whether or not this is going to be something you add to your collection. So let's go ahead and get into the technical specs. All right, guys, so just spouting off some of the specs that I personally care about. What you're working with here is a 1.8 inch blade. It's CPM 20 CV. It's listed as a clip point blade. I wasn't really sure how they were going to do that, but I can kind of see how they label that a clip. Carbon fiber show side, titanium lock with the standard over travel stop and steel insert. The pocket clip is reversible, left or right hand, just tip up. Weight is 1.7 ounces, and blade thickness is 0.12 inches. So flipper deployment manual. It runs on the KVT bearings as usual. Just one standoff. It's not, no backspace or anything to this guy. So pretty neat. Some of those specs is going to be some of the talking points here. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and take a quick look at the blade. All right, guys. So checking out the blade on this guy. Like I said, it's 1.8 inches long. So it's really small. I mean, the knife is very small. If you can't tell just in relation to my hand, it's even a little bit smaller than you would even think. Just to give you a size comparison, just real quick, this is the Para 3, and that's, size relation there. ZT 450. And then the normal Pilar, the original, even that makes it look this Pilar a little big. And then just to show you how small it is, that's a Leatherman Squirt. So yeah, this thing is pretty small. As far as the blade goes, it's not totally bad. As short as the blade is, and given the grind, I would have liked to see the blade thickness a little bit, thinner. But I know ZT doesn't typically, do fairly thin blade stock, but in this case it would have been nice just so it could cut a little bit better. It doesn't cut bad. It's just, it's just going to be for very basic stuff. This isn't going to be a main blade by any means. Just maybe, definitely cutting boxes, letters open, nothing serious for sure. Backup blade at best. But, like I said, all that considered, it still cuts well. So it still has that going for it. It's a flat ground blade, and it's got that nice stonewash finish to it. It does look really good. Jimping works pretty well. It does give you some grip, which is nice because with a knife like this, that's this small, and you can see you're really only getting 2 full fingers, maybe a bit of your third finger on there. You're going to want as much grip on this knife as possible. The flipper tab as well, jimping works well. Gives you enough to, get on the flipper tab there. It does have a pretty meaty point there. It is sharp though, so it's a really, really sharp point, but it's not super thin given the, what you would think of having a small blade and, especially the blade shape. So it is CPM 20 CV though, really good blade steel. Kind of overkill for something like this, but I still think it's cool. I did test this out on some cardboard, and it does reasonably well. It's not like it's a bad cut or anything. It's just For as small as it is, I would have really preferred to have a thinner blade stock. That's my number one gripe with the blade, but that aside, it looks great. It still cuts decently well, and it's got a really good blade steel on it, so can't complain too much. Getting blade stuff out of the way, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the handle. Alright guys, so now we're going to take a look at the handle of this knife. A lot of cool stuff going on here. I really like the carbon fiber. It looks great. It's really similar to other carbon fiber that we see from ZT. It's kind of got that same texturing to it and everything. Still looks just as good, as you can see. Really cool details. The pivot collar is really cool. It adds nothing functionally at all to the knife except just visually. It's just a nice little detail. Looks pretty cool. It adds a little bit of color to the way they anno it blue. Matches the little standoff here you got in the back, also annoed the same blue. Don't know how well the camera's going to pick that stuff up, but it's pretty cool. It's nice that they just have one standoff. Just makes the construction super simple, so that's pretty neat. The frame lock side is got like a heavier, it's not like quite what I would call orange peel. It's not that aggressive, but it's definitely got like a coarse like sandblast. So it's looks a little bit more blasted to me than like a normal blasted tie usually looks. So again, I think it looks cool. It's just something different. I really like that they do the hex on the back here, so you're not fudging around with two different Torxes to get this thing apart if you have to. I don't think it takes away from the look of the knife as much, but the functionality you gain from that outweighs, any kind of symmetry that you think you're losing with that. The clip, I do like this clip. So if you guys watch my Para 3 review, I kind of made a little bit of a fuss about the pocket clip coming up so far. For a knife of this size, it doesn't need to be like that. And plus, you have a pretty big portion sticking out of your pocket there. But this is, a full-size knife. It's not big. It's a kind of on the smaller 3-inch. But, you don't need a pocket clip to come up that much. I feel like for a knife like this, it is important to have the pocket clip come up further, just to make sure that it's really in your pocket. Something like this that's small, you don't want it to just fall out of your pocket and you lose it forever, considering the price tag. So I do like the pocket clip. It works well. It lays relatively low, so you're not going to be catching it on anything, and you don't feel it much in hand. So yeah, in fact, your finger kind of like lays right there. So yeah, you really don't feel it at all. Speaking more on the grip, you can see you have those two huge, finger choils, I guess, or cutouts for your finger. Your fingers, of course, fit in there quite nicely. Your third finger just barely hits the end. It doesn't feel like it's adding a whole lot to the control of the knife. It's just, happens to have a little bit extra that catches your finger. But the thumb that lands on the jimping is nice and positive. So, for as small as this is, it's not that bad. I'm not going to say it's, super comforting, the grip, but it really isn't that bad for, how small it is. They maximized what they could with, what they had available. So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of ways the ergos could have went down on this that were way worse. And then also speaking on the weight, 1.7 or 1.75 ounces. It's light. I mean, when it's in your pocket, you really don't feel it. I mean, you guys all know if you've had a knife that was under that 2-ounce mark, it's pretty much invisible in your pocket. More of the same here. It's small piece of titanium for the frame and small piece of carbon fiber for the show side. So there's not really anything that's adding weight here. They didn't have to do anything. The knife being so small is enough. So Yeah, carrying it is really nice. Pocket clip works great. The weight is non-existent. Put it whatever pocket you want. Um, you're not even gonna know you have it. So throw it in the pocket, forget about it. Um, and then decent ergos despite the size. Um, getting everything about the handle out of the way. Now we're gonna go talk about action and fit and finish. All right, guys. Action, fit, and finish is kind of a interesting topic here. So um, let's talk about fit and finish first. Pretty easy. Fit and finish is what you would expect from ZT. Blade is centered. There's no play at all. I've never had an issue with something like that from a ZT, of course, other than the 609. But yeah, everything is really put together really nicely. Again, like I said, especially for the price, you're going to want to make sure that that those dollars are going somewhere. So fit and finish is not an issue. Going into the action of the knife, the detent is very stiff. I personally, I like that. I know some people don't like a super crazy stiff detent. It's necessary in this case just because the blade is so small that it requires more force to deploy the blade because there's not a whole lot of weight behind it to, flip it and carry it all the way until the lock engages. So you do need a stiffer detent on a knife this small or on like a micro knife or whatever. It's a lot more mellow now. I'll still say it's pretty darn stiff, but it's, more manageable. When I first got it, out of box, it was pretty rock hard there. It was kind of hard to deploy the blade at times, especially as I was learning how to handle it. In the beginning, to get a better handle on it, I would kind of put it into my palm like that and try to deploy the blade. And I did it a little bit too far in, and when I did flip it and broke the detent, it cut into my hand a little bit. So there's a little bit of a learning curve on like how to hold it, but once you get it and once you break in that detent, it's not as bad, and it really flips. It's super super snappy. Really pleased with the action of it. Even after mellowing out, it's still very very snappy. So yeah, as far as flipping it, it works great. Pretty fall shut if you take out the lock bar, but of course, again, the blade is so light that it's not going to be fall shut when you're not totally disengaging the lock bar, just because the tension from the lock bar is stopping it. Blade doesn't have enough weight to drop freely, so I understand that it's not a big deal for me, but it's still fall shut when you fully depress the lock bar. So that's still an indication that tolerances are where they need to be and everything is, up to manufacturing standards, whatever that means, ZT. So action, fit, and finish is all done. We're going to go over miscellaneous overall comments, and we'll shut it down. All right, guys. So here is my overall thoughts on the knife. I absolutely friggin' love this knife. I just love how small it is. I love the action. All the great materials are there. The blade centering, blade play is not present. It's just amazing. It's so fun to play around with. I do try to use it when I can, when I'm carrying it, just because, it's nice and small. It's discreet. Now, the thing that's probably going to sway a lot of you guys is the price tag. This is a $200 knife. And while I say I really, really, really love this knife, it's hard for me to recommend it, openly, just because I know this isn't going to be, some people are going to say, oh, it's too expensive for this knife. And yeah, admittedly, it is expensive for what this is. I get that ZT has to, include some dollars for royalties or whatever they pay the designer. They have to get their share, and all that sort of thing. But I do think that they can price this a little bit better. Maybe they'll drop the price at some point, considering you can get the 450 for less. You're getting S35 VN instead of CPM20 CV, but you're getting a lot more knife than what you are, with the 22. I do enjoy it. So I think it's worth it for myself, but I will say that in order for you to take my recommendation seriously on whether or not you should buy this knife, you really need to take a look at your personal preferences. If you enjoy small knives or like the micro knives, then yeah, this is going to be right up your alley. It's going to be a very premium, very nice little micro knife. If the whole teeny knives thing isn't your style, you're probably already thrown off by this knife, and hearing the price tag is probably just the nail in the coffin there. But you really have to love a small knife to want to invest your money into this. If it is something that you'd like and you do pay for it, and you will love it, but if you're not totally sure that you're going to be satisfied with this knife, I would 100% recommend go to a knife place. If you have one nearby, try to get it in hand before you buy it, because that'll really be the determining factor if you're going to be happy. And $200 is kind of a lot to chance on something that you may not like or that you may really not like. So that's my suggestion to you guys. I really love it. Your mileage will definitely vary. It may vary. It will vary. So do your due diligence when taking a look at this knife, and try to get it in hand before you buy it to make sure it's up your alley. But there it is. That's the ZT22. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe to stay up to date with all my upcoming videos. Also hit the link down below for my Instagram. It's for everyday cool pics of knives and some behind the scenes shots. And all that done, we'll go ahead and catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.